My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 42, and I live in Portland, Oregon, in a neighborhood that smells like coffee rain and the slow decay of trust I didn't know was happening until it was too late. People around here talk a lot about authenticity, organic food, sustainable clothing, emotional transparency. Funny, isn't it? You can live at a place obsessed with honesty and still sleep next to someone who lies without blinking. I met Emily 6 years ago at a friend's birthday dinner. She was warm, magnetic, a little chaotic in a way that made you want to protect her from the world. She laughed with her whole body, talked with her hands, and looked at you like you were the only person she'd ever listened to. I fell for her quickly. She moved into my place after a year, and for the longest time, I thought she was the one person who'd never twist the knife. But love doesn't stop a blade. It only makes the cut cleaner. Her job at the architecture firm was demanding, but she liked it, especially the creative collaboration part, the phrase she used over and over again when she talked about her partner on the latest project. His name was Marcus, 35, divorced, portfolio full of modern glass towers, and an ego that needed its own zip code. She talked about him often at first, then less, then not at all. That silence said more than her words ever could. It started small, a shift in her phone habits, a new perfume, a nervous laugh when she got a message late at night, the way she'd angle her phone away from me when she typed. I didn't want to believe it. I've never been the paranoid type. If anything, I trusted too easily, a flaw Emily once called sweet. But one evening, while she showered, her iPad lit up on the couch, a message preview, his name, and a sentence that cracked something deep in me. Last night felt dangerous. I can't stop thinking about you. My stomach twisted. I unlocked the iPad. She used the same code for everything, and the truth poured out like a broken floodgate. Messages, photos, plans, excuses crafted with surgical precision. Late nights at work that were really hotel rooms with modern furniture and cheap wine. And the worst part, their affair wasn't new. It had been going on for 8 months. 8 months of inside jokes, whispered late-night calls, and a shared fantasy where I apparently didn't exist. I remember sitting there, numb, while the shower kept running, hot water pounding tile, her humming through the door, completely unaware that her second life had just ended. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. Instead, something inside me went silent, a cold, heavy silence I'd never felt before. And in that silence, a thought formed, clean, sharp, and strangely calm. If they chose to burn my world, I'll let the ashes fall on theirs, slowly, precisely, completely. The next morning felt like living inside a cracked glass sphere, everything familiar, but distorted, fragile, sharp in all the wrong places. Emily moved around the kitchen humming softly, her hair still damp, her smile light and easy. A woman who had no idea her other life had already collapsed. She just hadn't heard the sound yet. I watched her pour coffee. I watched her scroll her phone. I watched her pause for half a second when she saw a message from Marcus, then flip the screen face down like a kid hiding stolen candy. And she didn't notice a thing, not the tension in my jaw, not the way my eyes followed her, not the quiet calculation happening behind my calm expression. People say betrayal is loud. But no, what comes after is loud. The betrayal itself is silent. Deadly silent. The plan starts. Smiley didn't confront her. I didn't even hint that I knew. Instead, I left for work half an hour early, telling her I had a meeting. Truth was, I sat in my car around the corner, watching her through the windshield as she stepped outside. Phone to her ear. She wasn't talking to family or friends, she was talking to him. Her voice softened in a way I hadn't heard in months. Double quotes. Yes, I miss you too. No, he didn't notice anything. Tonight maybe. I'll tell him I'm working late. She said it like she was discussing dinner plans. My hands tightened around the steering wheel, not out of rage. Your rage is messy. What I felt was colder, sharper, more deliberate. I started the car. Stage 1. The digital pulse check. People underestimate how much of their lives live inside devices. Emily was one of those people. She kept everything synced: her phone, her laptop, her iPad. Same passwords, same cloud. I didn't need to hack anything, I just opened it. That afternoon, from my office, I downloaded every message, every photo, every time-stamped lie. But the real gold, her work calendar. She wasn't just cheating. She was using the firm's travel budget to meet Marcus in Seattle under the guise of client presentations. 2 trips, both approved, both fraudulent. Companies don't care about moral betrayal, but financial betrayal, they burn people alive for that. I smiled. This wouldn't just end their relationship. It would end their careers. Stage 2. Following the pattern. Emily and Marcus were predictable. Most cheaters are. They had a rhythm. Messages early morning, silence during lunch, calls after 6 p.m., late work nights every Thursday. Routine. Betrayal is easy to dismantle because it's structured like a schedule. At 4:12 p.m. that same day, she texted me, "Emily, hey love, I'll be home late tonight. Big deadline. Don't wait up." I texted back, "Me, good luck, dinner's in the fridge." She responded with a heart emoji. It almost made me laugh. By 6:20, she was in a hotel room downtown. Not even a nice one. Cheap, anonymous, convenient. I didn't confront her. I didn't burst through the door. I did something better. I let her believe she was safe. People reveal more when they think the walls aren't closing in. Stage 3. The first cup. Next day, I met with an old friend, Caleb, a quiet guy with a talent for cybersecurity and a job that didn't officially exist. If you needed something found, cleaned, or traced, Caleb was the person you called. I told him I needed a packet prepared anonymously. A packet containing screenshots, audio recordings, travel receipts, calendar logs, expense reports. Photos, all packaged neatly, professionally, convincingly. He didn't ask questions. "I'll have it ready tomorrow," he said. We shook hands, and in the handshake, the fate of 2 people was sealed. The unraveling begins that evening. Emily came home tired, flushed, smelling faintly of hotel soap. She kissed me on the cheek. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm good," I said softly. "Long day?" She hesitated. That microsecond pause liars always have right before they speak. "Yeah," she replied. "We worked late. We. Plural." I nodded. She didn't know a man can drown in someone else's lies long before the woman notices he's stopped breathing. But I wasn't drowning anymore. I was swimming straight toward the storm she didn't see coming. That night, she slept with her back turned to me. I watched the ceiling. Calm, serene, certain. By tomorrow, Marcus wouldn't just lose his privacy. He'd lose something much bigger. In the morning, the world looked exactly the same: soft sunlight, quiet streets, the smell of coffee drifting from the kitchen. But everything was already different, the kind of different that hides beneath the surface, like the deep current under a calm ocean. Emily moved around the apartment with practiced ease, the same little routines she always had, tying her hair into a loose knot, checking her emails, sipping from her chipped blue mug. But she didn't know she was living inside the last normal day of her life. I watched her without watching her. She didn't notice. The package drops at 9:47 a.m. Sharp. Caleb sent a single message: delivered. Not to Emily. Not to me. To human resources at her company. To compliance. To the CFO. And, most importantly, to the firm's outside auditors. I didn't have to write any accusations. I didn't have to say a word. The numbers, screenshots, and timestamps spoke for themselves. Fraud, unauthorized travel expenses, undisclosed conflict of interest, and a personal relationship with someone at a partner firm. Corporate sin. The kind companies do not forgive. The kind that ends careers in a single meeting. Caleb's packet was clean, professional, quiet. There was no way they would trace it back to me. I closed the message, locked my phone, and continued working. A storm was forming above Emily's head. And she was still sipping coffee like it was any other Wednesday, the first crack in her voice around noon. She called me. I let it ring twice before answering, the perfect amount of normal. "Hey," she said, voice too high to tight. "I might be home late again. There are questions at work." She paused. "They're asking about travel records from last month. Something about mismatched dates." It had begun. I leaned back in my chair and said gently, "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding." Her relief was immediate, pathetic. Yeah, I hope so." The panic beneath her voice was like a spark catching dry leaves. It would spread. Quickly, quietly. I went back to my work. Marcus goes first at 3:16 p.m. Caleb texted again. The partner firm got the packet too. Marcus has a meeting right now. I didn't need updates after that. I knew exactly how those meetings went. A polite invitation. A closed-door conference room. 2 people from compliance. 1 person from legal. And a quiet, clinical autopsy of every lie. Emily's phone buzzed around 4 p.m. She didn't answer it. She looked at the screen for 5 full seconds, then turned the phone face down. But I saw the name. Marcus didn't call back. She didn't message. Fear had started its slow drip into her bones. I watched her from the hallway, hands shaking, breath shallow. But she still didn't know how deep this cut would go. Not yet. The beginning of the end. Came home earlier than expected. Not late, earlier. She stepped inside quietly, like she was afraid the walls would ask her questions. "Hey," she said, trying to smile. I think something's wrong." I tilted my head slightly. "Wrong how?" "They asked me to come in for a meeting tomorrow morning. HR, compliance. They didn't say why." I kept my expression soft. "Maybe they're auditing the department." She swallowed. "Yeah, maybe." But her eyes were glassy and certain, flickering, like a candle that knew the wind was coming. She leaned against the counter. I moved toward her. Gently, slowly, soft enough that she felt safe, but not safe enough to see the truth. I took her hand and said quietly, "I'm sure everything will be fine." She nodded. But we both knew it was a lie. The difference was, I wasn't the one lying. The night before collapse, barely ate dinner, barely spoke. Her phone buzzed 3 times. Marcus again. No doubt, and each time she flinched like she was being shocked. She didn't answer any of them. She didn't dare. At 11 p.m. she finally said, "Do you ever feel like everything is about to fall apart?" I looked at her for a long, quiet moment. Then I said, in the softest voice, "Only when there's a reason." She inhaled sharply, just for a moment, and then nodded slowly. She went to bed before me. She fell asleep fast, exhaustion pulling her under. I stayed in the dark living room, watching the window, calm and steady. Tomorrow would be the day everything breaks. And she still had no idea who was holding the hammer. Morning arrived with a strange, heavy stillness, the kind that settles over the world right before something irreversible happens. Emily barely spoke as she got ready. Her movements were slow, robotic, like her body was following routines her mind couldn't keep up with. She looked like someone walking toward a firing squad without knowing which of the soldiers had her name on the bullet. I watched her tie her hair, smooth her blouse, check her bag twice. She didn't look at me in the mirror, not once. The meeting she couldn't escape at 8:42 a.m. She left the apartment. At 8:43, I texted Caleb, "She's on her way. Make sure someone from legal is there." He sent back a thumbs up. I made coffee. The morning sunlight felt warmer than usual. Emily was probably already sitting in the elevator, hands shaking, trying to rehearse lies she hadn't even said yet. But the truth is simple. You can't rehearse for a collapse. You can only survive it. The door closes behind her at 9:06 a.m. Caleb messaged, "She's in the meeting room." Door closed. HR, compliance, CFO, and legal. Marcus is on a separate call. Perfect. I didn't need to be there. I knew exactly how it was unfolding. A folder sliding across a table. Her name printed on the tab. A stack of documents she never expected anyone to see. Her travel receipts, her emails, her transaction approvals, her messages to Marcus. The evidence was clean, cold, mathematical. And the best part, every question they asked her would be something she didn't know they already had the answer to. People don't break when you accuse them. People break when they realize they've already been caught. The first call at 9:29 a.m. My phone rang. Emily. Of course, I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice was trembling so hard she could barely string words together. Please, call me. Please, something's wrong. They brought documents. I don't understand. Just call me, okay? Please. She hung up before finishing the last word. I listened to the message twice. Then I deleted it. The moment she cracked Caleb messaged again at 10:04 a.m., she cried, trying to deny everything. Not working. Marcus admitted his part on the call. They suspended both of them pending further investigation. Security walked her out. I exhaled slowly, not out of satisfaction, not out of excitement. Just completion. The way someone breathes after closing a book, finishing a long drive, ending a chapter. The kind of breath you release when something heavy and cold finally stops moving. The walk of silence. Emily came home around 10:40 a.m. She didn't slam the door. She didn't collapse. She didn't sob. She walked in very quietly, like someone entering a funeral. She froze when she saw me in the living room. Her eyes were red. Her mascara had streaked. Her hands were shaking so hard she had to hold them together just to keep them still. They fired me, she whispered. I nodded slowly, like I was hearing news about a distant acquaintance. She sank onto the couch. It's all wrong, she said. I didn't mean for anything to. I didn't think they would. They knew everything. Every email, every receipt, even the dates. She stopped, her breath caught. I watched her carefully. Her mind was finally reaching the edge of a truth it didn't want to see. Not the what, the how, not the evidence, the source. Her eyes moved to mine, searching for comfort. Instead, she found stillness, too much stillness, a silence to calm, a face too unreadable. And somewhere deep in her mind, a small, terrified voice whispered. He knew. She didn't say it out loud. She wasn't ready. But the seed was planted. The fissure between us. Can you just hold me? She asked. Her voice was small, weak, soft. I sat beside her. Close, but not comforting. Present, but not warm. She leaned into me anyway, because she had nowhere else to go. Her body trembled. Her breath stuttered. Her world was collapsing, and she still didn't know the truth. She still believed the universe had punished her by chance. She still believed fate had turned against her. She still believed she had simply been unlucky. But fate wasn't the one who moved the pieces. Luck wasn't the one who opened the files, and the universe wasn't the one who pressed send. The last calm night, the evening, she was quiet, completely hollow. She'd barely ate, barely moved. Her phone buzzed 7 times. She ignored all of them. At midnight, she whispered, I don't know how all of this happened. I looked at her for a long, heavy moment. Then said, maybe you should have thought about that earlier. Her eyes widened, just a fraction, just enough. The seed grew roots. She didn't sleep that night. She stared at the ceiling in silence, and for the first time, she was afraid of me. The next morning, Emily looked like someone who hadn't slept in a week. Her eyes were hollow. Her voice was flat. Her movements stiff, fragile, mechanical. She didn't make breakfast. She didn't shower. She didn't even touch her phone. She just sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, hands wrapped around a cup of cold coffee she never drank. It was the silence of someone who finally understood she was standing on the ruins of her own choices. But she still didn't understand the full truth. Not yet. Question she was afraid to ask. Around 11:20 a.m., she finally spoke. Her voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear it. Did you know? Her fingers tightened around the mug. Did you know about me and Marcus before the meeting yesterday? I didn't answer. The silence between us stretched like a wire pulled tight enough to cut skin. Her breathing quickened. I need to know, she whispered. Please. Tell me you didn't. Tell me this wasn't. She swallowed hard. Tell me this wasn't because of you. The desperation in her voice wasn't guilt. It was fear. The fear that the person she betrayed had understood her better than she ever understood him. The fear that the collapse of her life wasn't random. The fear that the quiet man sitting across the table hadn't been quiet at all. The truth I let her see. Leaned back in my chair, meeting her eyes steadily. Emily, I said softly, you didn't lose everything because of me. She exhaled shakily, almost relieved. Then I added, just as softly, you lost everything because of what you did. The relief vanished. Her face went pale. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I didn't insult. I simply let the truth sit between us like a blade. Her eyes faltered. Her breath trembled. And then in a small, breaking voice, so, you knew. I didn't nod. I didn't deny it. I simply held her gaze. Sometimes silence is louder than confession. Sometimes silence is cruelty. Sometimes silence is justice. She understood. Finally. Completely. The collapse covered her face with her hands. At first her shoulders only shook a little, then more, then completely. A quiet whimper broke into choked, violent sobs. She slid off the chair onto the floor, curling in on herself like a child trying to hide from thunder. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I was stupid. I ruined everything. I let her cry, let her break, let her finally feel the consequences she had escaped for too long. Pain changes people, but guilt reveals them. And now the revelation stood in front of me, shaking, crying, destroyed by the mirror she refused to look into. I didn't hold her. I didn't comfort her. I didn't wipe her tears. Her pain wasn't mine to soothe. Not anymore. The end of use. After nearly half an hour, she finally whispered, can we fix this? It was the softest question she had ever asked, a quiet plea from a heart that realized too late it had gambled and lost everything. I looked at her, truly looked at her. Not the girl I fell for, not the girl I trusted, not the girl I planned a life with. I looked at the real her, the one behind the excuses, the lies, the betrayal. And then I said the truth she had earned. No, her breath caught. She trembled. She nodded slowly, accepting something she couldn't fight anymore. She looked smaller than ever, almost invisible. Then she whispered, I'll pack my things. And she did. Quietly. Slowly. Every step heavy and weak, like her legs were carrying the weight of the entire story she created. She left the apartment without looking back. The door clicked softly behind her, a small, almost gentle sound, the kind of sound that marks the end of something that died long before it was buried. After the dust settles that evening, the world felt strangely peaceful. Still. Balanced. Not triumphant, not victorious. Just correct. The truth was no longer hidden. The consequences had been paid. The story had reached the place it was always meant to end. I opened the window and let the cool air in. And for the first time in a long time, I breathed freely, not because I had destroyed her, but because I had finally let her destroy only herself. And I walked away clean.